Hello and welcome back to OmniFoot TV. This is your Somewhere speaking. This is today's second video of the day. And it's basically going to be me sharing my thoughts on Chelsea's performance against Liverpool yesterday, on both teams actually, and in regards to the atmosphere at Stamford Bridge. We haven't seen that kind of atmosphere in close to 2 years. I say this as a Chelsea fan and as someone who, on a neutral level, would have probably been quite happy to have seen that kind of atmosphere. And I also made the same point for St. James's Park when I watched Newcastle's opener as well. That kind of atmosphere is welcome and should be encouraged by every fan base for every single team in the Premier League or otherwise, because that indicates a healthy football club to a very large degree. If your fans are happy and the club is running properly, that's how it should be, right? Anyways, on to the game. For the first time in an entire year, I can happily say that Chelsea can play football again. The game was very good. The interesting part, or the best part, the part that I had been hoping to be able to highlight, is that Chelsea's issues are now the kind you can remedy. It's not about losing your passion for the game, being completely disillusioned, falling out of love with the sport, with playing, because that's basically what happened to Chelsea last season, right? And then you have Liverpool, who had a pretty disastrous season by all accounts. But look at them now, trying to rebuild. Both clubs have had a very interesting summer transfer window, and they've butted heads on multiple occasions, mainly because of Caicedo and Lavia. Speaking of which, John W. Henry is seemingly going to talk to the Premier League's officials in regards to Chelsea spending, which is quite idiotic in my humble opinion, because Chelsea's spending has been heavily monitored for the last 3 years, before, during, and after the Roman Abramovich transition into the Todd Bowley era, especially because they wanted anything they could to pin on Abramovich, and they didn't find anything. In which case, I believe that we're safe, we're clean, and it is what it is. If the Liverpool FC owners have issues with that, they know where to stick it. I'll go beyond that and say that, quite honestly, both teams were extremely vulnerable at the back yesterday. It was a very open game. I don't think anyone expected that. High tempo. Pace was interestingly intense. Chelsea had almost double the amount of passes as Liverpool. They had more possession. They didn't necessarily boss the game, but an argument could be made by the stats. But the stats don't tell the whole story. Now, again, certain players did really well. I highlight Chilwell, Gallagher, James, and Enzo. Gallagher actually put in a shift. James did really well, and I'm glad he was subbed off because he was obviously tired. I was hoping that nothing would happen to either him or Chilwell because they've been injury prone for the last couple of seasons. It seems as though the fitness tests or the levels that Poch is trying to elevate them to is helping. That was the impression I got from yesterday's game, and I was pretty happy to see that. It seemed as though they were in very different mindsets. They looked, and it seemed that they also felt physically different. You could tell from the body language, the passion that emanated from the crowd, emanated from the players. The mentality is moving forward, it's moving up, it's being replaced, because last season they mentally fell apart in every conceivable manner, by every conceivable standard under Graham Potter. And, when Frank Lampard had taken over as a caretaker manager, I was going to say carefree manager, as caretaker manager, the damage had already been done. It seems as though the ship is being steered in the right direction. And now with Caicedo incoming, things are going to look better. Here's something interesting, though. A friend of mine was speaking to me yesterday, and he said that he actually thinks Liverpool needed Caicedo more than Chelsea. I think a fair and firm argument could be made for that. McAllister looked really good yesterday, although he was being played out of position. And I think that Liverpool do need to bolster their squad if they're going to build on more stability, because they have struggled, especially with filling the gaps in their starting 11 in general. But overall, as a Chelsea fan, I'm amazed, I'm proud, and I'm happy with this team. I'm proud of this team. My vocabulary is going to hell right now, mainly because it was very hard to put into words how I felt yesterday, just because I was able to enjoy the game. I was able to watch the team walk through that tunnel And the atmosphere, again, so different. The opportunism, the optimism, and the drive was back. Last season was just so depressing to me. And to think that in only a couple of short summer months, everything is changing for the better in such a fast-paced sense. Because mind you, having a large turnover or a great turnover, the kind that Chelsea have had throughout the summer, whenever that's been the case for any other Premier League club in particular, the team genuinely struggles and has even worse results. Fulham would be a prime example during one of the seasons they were promoted from the Championship in, when they bought close to 11 players, changed their entire starting 11, got relegated the season afterwards, right? I think this was a couple of years ago. I can't really remember, but I'm using it because it's the first and prime example that came to mind. Now, again, I think what Poch is doing is very good. I think he's being backed by the owners in a good way. He's been able to show how much he's changed and evolved as a manager in very good by presenting a very good first impression in the first couple of months in charge. Chelsea isn't necessarily a club for time and patience and projects, but it looks like Poch plays his cards right, and everything goes according to plan. And the owners continue to trust and back him after the experiences they've had last season with Potter. Then things may generally change. That's all I have to say for this video. Thank you once again for tuning in. If you have any opinions you'd like to share on anything that I've said, the comments section is open for a healthy discourse. Please like the video if you enjoyed it. Dislike it if you don't. I don't care. Hit the bell notifications button to get notified whenever we post, because I post content on a daily basis. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't, because if you enjoy my content and you haven't, what are you still doing, right? And I will see you all next time. Go Blows.